Welcome everyone to the Learn Tourism Talks monthly webinar. I'm so glad that you have joined us for a second time this month, hopefully, for a special webinar that I was really glad I got a chance to add to our 2026 calendar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Benoit. I'm the lead instructor at Learn Tourism, and I'm also the main event coordinator for the Learn Tourism Conference. And really quick, I just want to share a little information about our conference, which is coming up. You should see it on the screen now. We'll be in Richmond, Virginia on March 9th and 10th. Our conference is a merging of a conference that's been around for 8 years called the DIY Tourism Conference. So we're really thrilled to have combined forces with Learn Tourism to be bringing some awesome programming to you this spring. We have a wonderful curriculum put together that I'm so proud of, where we're bringing tourism, visitor services, and leadership experts from around the country. And so if you're interested in learning with Learn Tourism in person, I will share this link in the chat. You can find out what people are saying about the conference, a little bit more about Richmond. There's lots of great details. You can even see our entire schedule. So again, I'll share this with everyone, but we'd love to have you join us in person in March. But today I am really excited to bring to the table our guest, Rafael Pena. And I'm so appreciative that I get to do these webinars, first of all, that my team has asked me to continue these. I have been doing these since 2015 every month. And the best part about it is that I actually get to meet these incredible people that I think are doing awesome work. So when Stephen first said to me, "Hey, I really think we should have a conversation with Raphael. You should check out what he's working on." And it's really unique, it's really different. It's really putting people at the center of what we do, which I know our team at Learn Tourism really believes in. And so Raphael has been a travel journalist. He is leading when it comes to tech and how we develop travel and tourism experiences online and in different ways. I feel like you put a lot of heart into the work that you do, Raphael, and it really comes through as I explored all the different things that you're sharing out in the world, not just articles you've written and the great social media content that you've created, but also just reading articles about you. I peeped you a bit online, and it just really delighted me to hear somebody talking about how travel and tourism are so tied into things like community, like culture, and really putting the priority on, like I said, that people are the center of these experiences. I'm a person who goes back to the same places over and over. Once I've
Mm,
been somewhere and I've fallen in love with that place, we talked about Puerto Rico before we logged on. I've been
yeah.
going to Puerto Rico since 2004. I continue to return there. It's because I have a deep emotional connection to that place. It's not just the people or just the food or just the beaches. It's really that there's something magical that happens for me there. So that, especially that part of what I think you've shared in a lot of your messaging around, how do we engage people, but then how do we actually build that relationship with them so it lasts longer, was really exciting. So thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who have questions today, I will be monitoring the chat and the Q&A, but I'm going to pass the mic over to Raphael. And again, thanks so much for being here today. I'm so excited to learn from you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Learn tourism. That was a wonderful intro. And definitely, if you guys might have already looked me up, and that's why you're here at the webinar. So I just want to get right to it because we only have such a little bit of time. One of the things that I want to talk about is stop copy and pasting the journey. When it comes to these press trips, a lot of them start to become redundant. And if your itinerary could work in 5 different cities, it doesn't belong in any of them. Meaning like, hey, it's only but so many places that we can continue to go. The same museums, the same soul food restaurants, the Asian fusion places. It's better to just keep it diverse and keep it authentic to that city. Here's some points. Most itineraries fail because they're designed to be efficient instead of memorable. And travelers can feel that immediately. Now, domestic travelers want to feel like insiders, not tourists rushing from stop to stop. International travelers are looking for cultural understanding, not condensed highlights. Small markets lose credibility the moment they try to imitate major destinations instead of owning what makes them different. And last, Your advantage isn't scale or budget, it's access, intimacy, and the ability to slow the story down. So a lot of this is about, and pretty much we're going to talk about this throughout the whole kind of session that we have. It's about authenticity and staying true to the identity of that city. You don't want to go into like kind of comparing yourselves to a Chicago or to a New York. You just want to keep it authentic to what you do within that place. I'll give an example. I was just in Charleston sometime last year, and they gave a crabbing experience. Now, you can imagine I'm from the Bronx, 40 years, grew up in New York City. I've never been crabbing in my life, but was that a great experience that I'm always going to remember? Absolutely. And that was unique to that specific town. So those are things that you can consider when you are trying to attract journalists and content creators. What's the authentic experience that I can provide when these people get here? Now, the question is, you're going to ask, hey, well, what if the journalist isn't adventurous? Then maybe that isn't a journalist for you. And there's dozens, hundreds of journalists that you can invite and content creators that are into those kind of things. So it's really about taking the time, doing your research, and having conversations with journalists or email exchanges, just getting to know the people before you invite them to the city, which I'm sure a lot of you do already, but it's important to do the due diligence. There's been plenty of times where I get invited somewhere and everything just stays on email, and then I'll get to a destination and things are still pretty vague. And that puts a writer in a kind of like weird feeling or situation, or we realize that nobody wants to be held liable for something for whatever reason. Sarah, I guess now I want to open the floor to any questions about this specific topic, if there's any out there.
Yeah, I don't see any right now, but again, feel free, folks, to drop any questions that you have in there. But I will just add, Raphael, I really appreciate what you're saying because that's something that I think my entire career I've reminded people of is that the journalists, the media, they're people, right? Even if we're going to talk about influencers, it's like they do need to feel like they're being supported through the process, right? Again, we don't allow them to try to just figure out how to do things on their own once they get to our location, or they
Yeah.
sort of had somebody that kind of brings them in and is, here's the best way to engage, or here's your options, or, I just think that personal relationship makes a big difference. Sometimes we forget, I think, that, when you work with different journalists, especially in 2026, they might have connections to lots of different publications or outlets or channels. And so if you build a relationship with them, they might tell your story numerous different ways through different mediums. And so it's not sort of about that quality versus quantity argument. It's like, it's not about the number of people you
Yeah.
know, but it's about how well they know you and understand what it is that you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, and a little hand holding can go a long way. Now, sometimes I'm the type of journalist where I don't like my hand held, but if I'm in a city where it's not major and the things to do, the attractions are a little bit more unique than usual, I definitely want to like either interact with the person I've been talking to before I got there, or I want to make sure that you handed me off to someone that knows what they're doing and has the time to actually just be there when I need them or show me around. If there's no questions on that topic, or if you guys think of something later, Sarah, just let me know. But let's get to the second point. Respect the storyteller. If you want to impress a writer, don't start at the welcome cocktail, start at their front door. What that means is like the trip begins as soon as you give us the airline tickets or the confirmation code. That's actually when the trip begins, not when we land at your destination. Journalists and creators are not interchangeable because voice, perspective, and lived experience shape the final story. Reach matters less than whether the storyteller actually understands the community they're representing. The experience begins the moment the flight is booked because travel stress starts long before arrival. Covering airport transportation removes friction and signals respect. And that small investment is always remembered. When logistics are seamless, writers arrive present, focused, and open to deeper storytelling. I know that a lot of destinations don't have these huge budgets, and maybe sometimes setting up people with a car service or limo service to get to and from the airport is a high expense. but you'd be surprised how much we really appreciate you guys giving us an Uber code of $50 just to get to the airport. Now, imagine how how much of those stories will come back for you if you spent that $100, $200 getting a writer or a content creator to and from the airport. You're really creating a convenience, and it doesn't mean that you have to be like Wells Fargo or Capital One or American Express to provide that kind of experience. If you just take the time out to check the budget and see what you can do and ask maybe the writer, like, hey, about how much do you think it is to get to the airport? We want to make it convenient for you. That's a question you can ask. And those are things you can get into. Like right now, being a travel writer is it's such a crazy industry. We are not on solid ground. So anything that you guys do to help, that will make us like your mascot, your champion. And we go and we tell all the other writers, we tell all the other content creators, like, yo, man, Kalamazoo, they pay for my Uber. And we will all be in the chat like, what? They pay for your Uber? So you'd be surprised how these small things could definitely change the perception of your city as soon as they leave the house. So it's very important to make those kind of like just small little tweaks to make the writer or the content creator just feel a little special, because it is important. And if you want them to go back to their editors, and if you want those videos to get edited a little bit faster, those are the kind of things, the kind of tweaks that you can provide to really get that material out there and get that exposure that you guys basically paid for.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I
yeah,
just want to
but
jump in, Raphael, and share too on that note. That's one of the things I really encourage people to do because at the end of the day, approaching it from that perspective helps. Just think about budgeting in advance, thinking about the investment you're making in bringing people to your area, whether that's journalists, like I said, or influencers, or some combination of people. It's like really figuring out, okay, here's what we can provide. Here are the perks we can offer, really having that thought out in almost like a package perspective. I just think overall makes everything stronger in the long run, because then you can really say, this year we need to bring in 3 people. That's what we really have the budget for. We're going to need to choose those people to be the people we really want to get us in front of the right audiences. And then we're really going to them with a serious approach of, hey, this is what we invest in bringing our travel writers to the area. And I just think that investment alone just sets a different tone, which is helpful. We do have one question from Stephanie, and Stephanie, feel free to clarify a little in the chat if you'd like. But Stephanie was saying when it comes to like testing messages, like seeing where they land, what are your thoughts on how do you test a message? And when you try to put something out just to see how it does, is there something specific you're looking for to say, yes, this proves that this message is useful, or is the thing we should keep drilling down into?
yeah, so I'm assuming that testing the message means the press releases or that news information about your city. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, she's basically saying yes. She's basically saying yes. She's curious about the process. Is it something you're sending to a select group of journalists, or is it mass message? You're sending it to everybody. And I think that relates to what you were talking about in the beginning too, about not treating everybody the same, And so how do you reach out and get the correct feedback that you need to know how
Yeah.
to pursue things?
So definitely not everyone is the same. And there's a huge difference between a freelancer and a staff writer, but then sometimes there isn't. So with a freelancer, we get the opportunity to pitch these stories to 4, 5, 6 publications. A staff writer is going to work for that one organization, and they're the ones that are under like either some sort of following some sort of SEO algorithm for that time period. The website or the bigger publications, they have these kind of like talking points or speaking points that already sell for them, because that's really what's going on. Like you can get a very passionate writer that is like a staff writer, but also the publications are about what makes the money, what brings them the clicks. So you really have to study the publication, see what it is that's they're like constantly putting up. And it's kind of easy to see. If you go to a Travel or TNL, you'll see when they're like doing the best of this, or Martin Luther King Day is coming up. Here's some activities for Martin Luther King Day. If you're coming up with, if your city has something extremely unique that stands out, then that's something that you should definitely push. Also, try to build that rapport. Say something in that email that will make them get on the phone with you. A lot of the times I get the email and they never asked me to have a conversation. And you'd be surprised, like, I wouldn't mind getting to know a few of you guys. Like, honestly, if you say, hey, do you have time for a call? Because in my mind, I said, they want to talk. Maybe there's a possibility that there's a press trip 6 months or a year down the line. And if you're like, if there's someone like me, like I'm open to exploration. I'm probably one of the like, no, there's a bunch of us, but I always love a new city. It doesn't really matter where it is. I'm not someone that's, oh, I only do major cities or I only want specific things. I want unique things. So building that rapport early or opening the floor up to have a conversation, that's really going to work better than to just send a random press release or something special that like clearly is, I don't know, when it's too blatant, too obvious. It's just, I don't even want to pay attention to it. So I would do more of a job of trying to establish connection. And I think when you do belong to a smaller market, you should have the time to establish connection. And what happens is, hey, you're going to send out 1,000 emails, but if you get five connections out of those 1,000 emails and they're quality connections, you just did half the job right there.
Yeah, I want to jump in too, just and again to
Yeah.
just back up what you're saying, Raphael, because one of the things in reference to Stephanie's question that I think is so interesting is when it comes to connecting with whether it's journalists directly or it's just, PR people in general that are kind of story pitching and doing different things as part of their job. At the end of the day, to me, there's certain things they may already know. Right. There's certain things about your region, your area that are the typical things. I'll use Asheville as an example. Most people know the Biltmore Estate is in our region. That's not something we need to go educate a lot of travel writers about, right? Like,
Yeah.
even if they've never been here, they probably can easily figure out that stuff. So, when we're pitching them, we really want to bring them something unique. We also want to do that background to really understand who we think their audiences are, because part of the pitch really needs to be this is why your audiences are going to care about what we're talking about. And then I think anytime you can get more creative and personal, my most
Yes.
successful story when I was doing PR outreach probably 10 years ago with my business partner's company is we sent a few emails, but what we did was we sent emails basically saying, hey, we sent you a little gift package from Asheville. We want to talk to you about a company there. But we
Hmm.
wanted you to just get a flavor for our community. And so it was this little package full of Asheville things that are made by Asheville companies. It was like a couple beers and a little chocolate and a this and a that. But then it was also this one product for the client that we were working with. And we were basically saying, we would love for you guys to talk about this company, but we really want you to talk about it because it's part of this incredible community of business owners where we're doing something super unique with sustainability, right? And we literally got a call back from a major magazine in New York because they were like, whoa, that box of stuff was awesome, right? So we
Hmm.
didn't just bombard them with a press release about things. We were really trying to figure out how we stayed unique and just made a bigger impression than anybody else who was reaching out to them. And my most favorite trick that the PR person I was working with at the time did was we're going to send them a whole little care package because then I'm going to put perishable on the outside and then they're really going to open it. It's not going to sit anywhere. And then like our emails weren't like, here's our press release, write about our thing. Our emails were like, hey, we sent you guys something special. We really want you to check it out and then let us know if you want to talk. And like it just came across totally different. And that lesson has stayed with me since then. It's like
Hmm.
anytime I'm engaging with people that are journalists, I'm like, we really want to talk to them about how we're contributing to them as well as them contributing to us. Like it's a relationship, not just, hey, could you do us the favor of publishing an article about us or whatever it is. It's maybe approach it from how we can help each other rather than just how you can help us. Or, like I said, sending them long emails with bunches of stuff that I think is just not as exciting or interesting or personal.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. Take the time to either study the writer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure. There's a lot of people that are just like me that have their own Substack, that have their own LinkedIn and things of that nature. Find out, take a few moments just to read up on them. And then when you send that email, you say, hey, by the way, we know you like the Yankees, or we know that you're a basketball fan. And you know what I'm saying? We want you to check this out. By the way, we have a great Division II basketball team that the whole town comes to see. So those unique things that stand out are they're going to take you a long way. So I would say that the smaller markets, you guys have all the advantage to be who you want to be, as opposed to like when those hospitality brands send those emails, my gosh, they're like Bible verses of stuff. And honestly, like I'm when I'm scanning it, I'm like, okay, did they invite me to this beach resort or do they want me to write about it? And if it doesn't say that, I'm just like skipping it over because it's just I'm already writing. I don't want to read 600 word email. You know what I'm saying? If there's any other questions out there, let me know, Sarah.
Yeah, no, we're good for now. So you can keep on trucking, and I will definitely let you know as soon as others are added in.
All right. My next point is trust is the new media currency. So we touched on this a little bit. You don't guarantee coverage by asking for it, you earn it by being worth returning to. The more control a brand tries to exert over a story, the less credible that story becomes. Journalists want alignment with values and vision, not instructions or expectations. Real relationships outperform press trips because trust compounds over time. Ethical storytelling leads to repeat coverage because writers stand behind what they publish. And lastly, long-term access creates loyalty while one-off exposure is quickly forgotten. Now, to touch on this, there's PR people that I've like when I started writing for bigger publications like Travel Noir, like I'm still in touch with them, even for like random things. Like I might know about their kids, I might know about their relationships. I'll ask about some of the businesses that I went to. And I also go to these conferences right now. I'm at IMM. And when I go onto the floor, it's like a big family reunion for all the cities that I've been to. And I have this rapport and I remember these people and, you know what I'm saying? And I love them, you know what I mean? I love what they do. They love what I do. And it becomes a relationship. And then what happens is they'll send me an email and I'll say, hey, this is something we're consider, or this is something that I'll talk to the editor about. And it might not happen right then and there, but you never know. 2, 3 months down the line, if there's a slot that needs to be filled in with a specific kind of thing, hey, we have the best World's Fair in the summertime. You know what I'm saying? That might be right there where we get to pop you in. And that's coverage that you didn't even expect. So it's more about when you're a smaller market to really play that long game because you don't know when the right story is going to come or when someone's going to say, hey, all of a sudden we need something about the Southwest. You know what I'm saying? Can you get me a bunch of things about the Southwest? Or how this year, I know a lot of those cities that don't normally get coverage, they're a part of Route 66 and they're celebrating 100 years of Route 66. So now that's an opportunity as well for you guys to get out there. And surprisingly enough, I'm not seeing a lot of smaller markets in my email. I'm still seeing the same 5, 6 cities sending me the same stuff for Route 66. So there's plenty of opportunities for you guys to take advantage of and attach yourself. You know what I'm saying? You kind of have to stand next to whatever it is that's going on when it comes to these bigger publications. Because, like I said, it's about clicks. Publications don't have an emotional tie to your destination. It's more of, hey, how can we make this a click? How can we get people interested? Or what about this is interesting enough for our readers to continue to reading about it? That's my point there. If there's any questions on that, let me know, Sarah.
Yeah, I do have one question I do want to say Stephanie really appreciates you mentioning Route 66. I was waiting for her to hop in there. She's involved with a number of communities in the Route 66 Centennial. And
Okay, got
yeah,
you.
that's a great example that I think people could really look at right now to just learn more about how different areas can collaborate and stuff. But my question that I wanted to add in was, could you really quickly just define when you say ethical storytelling, what do you mean by that?
So basically, we'll get a pitch and you guys are basically trying to dictate what the writer is going to put out. So it's enough that our day is already dictated by our editors, you know what I'm saying, or by the commerce person or whatever titles these people have now. They're just editors with like more things to do. Now, when it comes from the PR side, they're like, hey, we really need to tell this story. For us, that doesn't really feel that authentic. So that's where the ethical thing is, because why would I talk about something that I don't know for a fact is great? I have to take your word for it that it's great, or you need to provide enough research or like enough people to say, hey, this is a great experience. Because that's what I'm going to do when I'm not at a destination. So early on, I was blessed to start my career at Travel Noir. So I didn't take the typical route. I was a content creator that got asked to write one story, and then that one story got me the opportunity to become a writer. So that's how I got into journalism. But when I was at Travel Noir, it was just a lot of deadlines and a lot of like guidelines to follow. And does it fit the calendar? That is the main question. So you have to approach these things like, hey, what fits this calendar? What's coming up? And stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Basically, like we all know the holidays are coming up. If you guys were a part of IPW or the IPW marketing emails or whatever, Route 66 was happening last year when you got to Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things you should be prepared for 6 months to 8 months in advance and getting on the calendar or just starting a conversation. Because if you prepare us, you know what I'm saying, before our editors tell us what to do, then now you become a major resource. You make us look like hot shots when we go back to our editor and say, hey, man, this Route 66 is about to be the talk of the town. Because the editor didn't go to IPW, the writer did. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you could do to make us look good, we're going to try to make you look good too. And those are the kind of things that you just have to pay attention. And like I said, the smaller markets, you guys have a big opportunity because you can prepare. You know what I'm saying? You're more tied into either like the government of that city or the city has paid a contract for more than a year. So your job isn't on the line as opposed to like bigger cities when they have contracts with these PR firms and they got 8 months to turn it around or something absurd. It's not some kind of like in and out casino. Like you guys have relationships that you can nurture and build, and you have to take full advantage of that. So when you are outputting to us, think 6 months in advance. Hey, by the way, like this is coming up, or look, Rafael, I just want to get on the phone and have a chat. You know what I'm saying? And flattery goes a long way. So I would say, hey, but bring up a story I just wrote, or if you saw an interview I just did, talk about something that I talked about. I think Carrie, she's here on the chat. You know what I'm saying? She tuned into an interview, and then when we were talking, I could tell like she was really into the interview, and now I'm interested in everything that she's talking about. And it feels like a tactic, but it's not. Like we want to feel appreciated. We're extremely underpaid. We're always looking for our check. So any kind of good news or any positivity you want to throw to a writer is going to be welcome with open arms.
Yeah, and I just want to again just I appreciate you sharing that because that's something that I have taught in many of my classes over the years around again publicity and media is know about the writer before you contact them. Know what they're doing, know what their latest article was. There's nothing worse than pitching them on something they just wrote about that was just published. And you didn't even know that 2 weeks ago they'd already published something very similar. It's like you lose your credibility in that moment because you haven't done any of your due diligence. I just think again, it is a tactic on one level, but I think it can be a tactic that is done in the spirit of relationship building and in like knowing who you're talking to and really saying our destination is a good fit for what you're doing and we see that you're a good fit for representing us because we have some shared things and we loved this other work that you've done. I think that's so key. I do want to give a shout out in the chat. Someone was just mentioning that there's also the centennial of the Blues Highway 61, which is
Okay.
another example of just a cultural or significant route and experience that people can have. And I just love that they were sharing those types of little things. And for those that are on the call, if there's something local to you where you're like, not a lot of people know about this, but it is a thing that we can celebrate. One of the things I've really noticed, and I live in rural North Carolina, and so I spend a lot of time really in Western North Carolina, which is like 20 rural counties. It might not be that everybody knows about those special things, but they exist in every nook and cranny of where we are. And when I've done social media for over 20 years, one of the things I've noticed in social media is how powerful anything from history can be. Any sort of looking back, celebrating, recognizing something from the past can get you a lot of community engagement. And when the community engages in the story, do you know what happens? The people who don't live there, who might come here, actually start to see that story. A lot of times, if you can't engage the community around it, it doesn't get as much reach It doesn't get
Mhm.
as much engagement out in the world. And so we always have to have that perspective of we're engaging the people locally with a story that they love, and we're going to engage people who don't really know about our community maybe or haven't been here before because they're going to see that love of that amazing story. So just wondering if you could share a little bit about that, Raphael. Since I feel like that's something you've talked about before in your writing that I've really appreciated, which is like bringing that piece together. Like it's not just about the visitors, it's about the people that live where you are and how everybody's coming together, you know?
Yeah, that's a great intro to like the grand finale, honestly, and something that I'm most passionate about and that I talk about everywhere I go and all of these kind of like stages and the people that I meet and even tomorrow when I meet with a lot of these destinations. But before I get into it, I know you saw me pick up my phone. I wrote down the Blues Highway thing just so that I can keep it in my head because I write for Detour and Detour is under McClatchy and McClatchy gets aggregated to Miami Herald, SACB, Observer, and all of these things. And now that's a potential story where like blues is tied to the Black community. And I'm the kind of writer that a lot of other people aggregate. You know what I'm saying? So when I write something, I know eventually someone else is going to pick it up or they're going to use my piece of writing for their research and it'll end up on Travel Noir. So that's like how the ecosystem works when it comes. So whoever said that, thank you so much because that's something that I'm going to look into a month from now when I have some free time and I'll say, "Hey, I need to see what this Blues Highway 61 is because that's a great story to parallel along with the Route 66." So now to the point that we all are trying to get into or trying to have a better understanding of is make your city feel human, not algorithmic. Please don't fall in love with destinations. No, people don't fall in love with destinations. They fall in love with the people who live there. Algorithm driven marketing creates sameness, while human stories create emotional connection. Destinations become unforgettable when they introduce travelers to real characters, not just landmarks. Bartenders, cab drivers, shop owners, and artists are often the most powerful storytellers in a city. When local businesses promote one another, the destination feels like a community instead of a collection of vendors. And lastly, underdog cities win by telling honest stories rooted in pride, not by chasing polished perfection. So, to get into it for real, like the worst thing you can do is to take me to a brewery and have a business owner that only understands how to make beer and they're going to give me an instructional guide of how to make beer. Boring. I don't want to hear about how you made beer. I want to know the story of like, why did you make the beer? And I want a passionate story. I want someone who is a character and I want someone who is memorable because that's going to make it easier for me to write a story. So when you pick and choose people to engage with the writers and the content creators, you got to pick the colorful characters. You know what I'm saying? I'm known, my son hates it. My wife and my son, they hate it. But anytime I get into a cab, I immediately give a taxi driver like 20 questions. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to know what the locals are doing. What's the best place? You know what the first question I ask them is? I say, hey, when you're on your break, where do you get lunch? What's your favorite place to go to? Or when you had a great week, how do you celebrate that great week as a cab driver? What's your favorite thing to go eat? It's not that fusion restaurant or that James Beard award winning person or place, which is a feat. And I know people that are into that. But personally, I've been to a few James Beard places that aren't that good. So take me to where there's 300 locals waiting to get into this place. And, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that I get a plate from that spot. Now, back to the characters. Like, man, like if you want to tell the story and if you want to convey the identity of a place, you have to find the people that are die hard that place. Like if I go to Savannah, I want to meet the Savannah Banana #1 fan. And I want to know why he's such a #1 fan of this place. Because for me, coming from New York or coming from Atlanta, it's wow, how is this minor league team so popular? What makes them so popular? Why are they so popular? Why are their fans so passionate about them? And we want the stories from real people. The problem is when it gets to a PR person that's like an implant from LA or Chicago, and they were great at what they did in this big town. And then they come here and they try to like convey a story that's not authentic to who they are, it just gets lost in translation and it just becomes something that's not authentic. And the last thing, we're not going to fall in love with something that isn't authentic. By nature, we are curious people. Like travel writers are not AI robots. That's not what we do. What we want is the story, and we want these key people. And if we highlight, if you manage to get a person that is like worthwhile getting a story from, then right there you sold your whole city because of this one interesting person. And we all know who these people are. I'm sure right now you're thinking in your head, man, that guy at the deli that I get my bagel from in the morning, man, he's such an interesting character. Or the black owned bakery, you know what I'm saying? The husband and wife bakery owners that bicker right in front of customers and customers get a kick out of it all the time. They can really tell a story. You know what I'm saying? So find these unique people that really can convey the identity of the town. Another point I want to make also is like what you guys provide in these smaller markets are actually what the bigger hospitality brands are trying to emulate. When I go to a hospitality brand that is quote unquote luxury, what they convey in their concierge and that one on one personalized experience is something that you guys naturally provide. So it's already a luxury experience just because we're coming to your town. If you're a town of like 20,000 people, there's no reason why one business owner doesn't know who the other business owner is. That is a major faux pas. Like it is horrible. I'm telling you right now. When I get to your hotel, you should have the best bakery sampler there. You should have the best coffee there, local coffee, some of the local produce. It should just be in a bag waiting for me. And you guys are saying, hey, we are giving you this kind of gift bag when you get there because you're about to experience each each part of this gift bag when you meet the people behind these products. And what's great, and I'll give an example. I don't know if anyone there is from Ohio, anyone in the chat, Midwest, you guys do a great job at this. But I was in Columbus last year, and all the business owners didn't know each other. And if they didn't know each other personally, they know of each other's business because either their nephew or their little cousin went to that business the other day and they had a great time, when they can describe what their food is like or why these places are like landmarks to the locals of that community. So it's not about, hey, come here to Toledo. You know what I'm saying? This is the Paris of the South. Like nobody wants the Paris of the South. I want my Paris in Paris. I'm good on that. You know what I'm saying? Show me what it is that you guys have. Keep it unique to the destination and pump yourselves up. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying in this last thing is just build a community within the community. You know what I'm saying? If you are that PR or destination marketer for a community, be intentional and have all the business owners meet, get to know one another. You know what I'm saying? Try each other's products, build that camaraderie among these business owners so that now it's even better sale when you get a writer, when you get a content creator, because now I feel like I'm home. You're
Yeah.
welcoming me with all of these people and you're recommending each other. That kind of creates like this calmness. Like, oh, I'll be good here. You know what I'm saying? Even if you can't hold my hand, at least I know that Joe, the concierge, knows Frank the butcher, and Frank the butcher knows Craig the cab driver, and Craig the cab driver is going to take care of me the whole time.
Yeah, I think you're speaking so much to just like really intentional packaging around these things. I love that you mentioned Columbus because they're a client of Learn Tourism, Experience Columbus, and in Ohio. And I think they do an amazing job of exactly what you're saying. And a lot of that they did through their tourism ambassador program, and which is more of like an insider program for them. But it was really important for them to figure out a way to keep everybody in contact with what's changing in Columbus. What are the new places that are opening? If you're part of their insiders, you get to go see what that new place is, right? So it's like they're always educating, always helping people see how the community is evolving, which is pretty cool. Tanisha had a question asking basically, how do you feel about curating intimate experiences for press or content creators that represent local culture and providing itinerary options so that they have, I'm assuming, Tanisha, it's more like a choose your own adventure free flowing itineraries versus saying, here's what you're going to do. Could you just take a couple minutes and talk? I mean, you've touched on this a little bit, but just talk a little bit about what you think those really authentic experiences
Yeah.
are for press, and like maybe give an example of one where you were like, this really helped us to understand how to explore the city on our own terms, but also gave us direction for what we were doing.
Yeah. So it gets pretty dangerous when I'm gonna bring my wife along because she's very particular about food and is an avid Yelper. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of like if I'm coming by myself, then I want the sports stuff or I want a really good steak all the time, or like there's certain specific things that I do enjoy if you ask me, you know what I'm saying? Or if there is that option because you can provide a variety. Some towns can't, and that's fine too. Just, you know what I'm saying? Make sure that it's a great experience. That's really all what it's about. But it is a great question because there was a time where like I got really snobby, but only because I was a staff writer and I had a lot of deadlines where I didn't like fam trips. So for a long time, I didn't go on fam trips because they would interfere with my deadlines. And I would tell the PRs like, hey, I just need this 3 hour window for me to just wrap up this story and then I can come back into the itinerary. And a lot of the PRs didn't like that. And I understood why, because you guys took the time to cultivate an experience that you need everyone to be a part of. Now, when it comes to these like single person itineraries, yeah, it is a great idea to cultivate around that specific writer if you have enough options out there. But also, a few surprises are great, right? Because I'm not that much of an adventurer. So I probably would never pick milking cows. But if you just dropped it on me like we're milking cows, and the day before I was having drinks somewhere and I just have a really great time with whoever this group is, I'm gonna go milk cows with that group. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it works. So a lot of that does like work hand in hand. It's definitely an art form. You know what I'm saying? And some of the major cities are really good at it because they get to interact with a lot of people. But there's also these instances where you can learn this art form of, hey, how do I introduce new experiences? Or what is a way where I can just like give them a little bit of something that they like to do, but also give them a trade off of, hey, this is what we want to show you because it's unique to the destination. And if you know that's a fun thing or a memorable experience, stick with your guns on that. You know what I'm saying? Because I will definitely respect it. No, you need to try this. And the reason you can talk to them is because you took that time to build that rapport with that writer in the first place.
Yeah, and I'll just add into, I think there's a couple things I feel are so important to highlight out of what you're saying. One is to go back to something you touched on earlier. It doesn't matter what size of destination you are. Like it's not about how big, how the size of the population, how many attractions you have or whatever it is. It really is about whether or not you told a story that felt emotionally connective to people, to both like the actual writer themselves, but they could also see that it would be something their readers, their listeners, the people that they're connecting with on their end wanted to consume. So it's, I think, really just knowing like you're not limited always. It feels that way sometimes if you're looking at how much does it cost to hire somebody or hire a PR firm. You can feel like your budget is limited, but a lot of times you can still build these relationships in simple ways. And you can still, regardless of how big your budget is or how many people live in your area, you can still actually meet different types of journalists. You can connect with them and you can have a really authentic connection that says us working together is going to be beneficial, right? For us, for your community, for my readers, for everybody. And I just think we shouldn't see it as something that's out of reach. I think there's a perception sometimes that if I can't hire the PR firm, it's out of reach. And I'm like, it's not really, it's the internet. You actually can connect with people and do it, and you might not be able to do it with 1,000 people, but you could do it with 50 really good ones this year and build that long-term perspective of how you're telling your story. I know we're coming right up to the top of the hour, so if there's any additional questions, feel free to drop them in and we'll answer them. Tanisha, thanks so much. Tanisha was just saying that answer was really insightful and helpful.
Great question.
Yeah, I also just want to encourage folks again. I shared Raphael's information in the chat. I will also send that out when I email you the recording of this conversation on Friday. So please consider him a resource. Check out the work that he's doing. I feel, again, in a world of AI and bots and all of that, it's really important for us to keep talking about the value of real storytelling and also the value of human connection with people. Because I think as we move into the future, there's going to be a lot of conversations about what great content really is.
Yeah.
And I know I feel like the great content is this. It's actual
Yeah.
opinions, it's actual experience, it's actually things being shared. And especially in travel and tourism, I really feel like we are going to be an industry where we can't remove the human factor, no matter how efficient or
Mhm.
productive we get. Our entire industry, which somebody said in the chat at the very beginning, is built on human beings and the experiences that we have and who we are. And like you said, the stories we tell. So it's the more that we can invest in this part of what we're doing, I think the better the future is and the better our industry is going to be. So it's really valuable. But anything you'd like to wrap us up with, Rafael? We're again so grateful to have you here.
Yeah, you know what? I know we're like going over time, but I just wanted to share one gem while we have their attention is like when it comes to getting these content creators, it's time to like be more unique with it. Either start cultivating your own content creators because in every city, there's these like young, aspiring people that want to become content creators and give them the experience that you want to give to a big time content creator before you fly them out. Like journalists versus content creators is such a like big topic right now because we know that the content creators are getting like a shitload of cash and we get maybe 10% of what they get. You know what I'm saying? So what you guys should do as like smaller destinations is like start cultivating your own content creators because that micro creator that has like 5,000 followers, he eventually becomes the creator that has 50,000 followers and now you get a loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Also, try to go like outside of travel because the majority of people that follow travel creators are other travel creators. So it's just redundant. You're not getting the marketing that you want. So what you should do is cross into other industries when you're hiring these content creators. And that was a gem that I just wanted to give you guys in the end. So if it's like Joe the plumber and Joe the plumber is having a million followers because they love his tips, why don't you invite Joe the plumber out? Because all those people that are watching him, either like dads or DIY people that all of a sudden see Joe the plumber on vacation somewhere in one of these destinations, that's going to spark more interest than someone who already vacations every single day on their feed. You know what I'm saying? So that was a tip that I just wanted to share with you guys to just think out the box when you reach out to these content creators. And it's also a way for you guys to save money when you are either cultivating or doing outreach to people that are outside the industry.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for that because I feel like that's a great insight. Again, all my work in digital marketing, I think if there's one thing we can do, or maybe two things we can do in 2026, it's like really get creative and innovate where we're at. The world of storytelling and content creation and digital tech is going to continue to rapidly change in the coming months. And so the more you can really root yourself down in what matters and really say, these are the kind of conversations we want to have, these are the kind of relationships we want to build with people, you start to just open up your mind that it might be there's opportunities in places that you didn't see before. And I think,
Mhm.
especially for those of you, like again, in rural areas or smaller communities, I like to call y'all emerging communities. I think it's important for us to look at it that way because otherwise we miss opportunities. We get focused on how it has to be like this. And I'm always like, does it though? Does it have to be like that? Or are there other things that we haven't considered yet that we should? So as you move forward, be creative, be innovative. Again, Raphael, thanks so much for being here. To everyone else, it was so great to have you join me for a second time in January. You can look forward to more announcements about our Learn Tourism Talks webinars coming up. We'll be doing some extra webinars in February as well. But as usual, I feel so grateful to have you all in my community. And thanks for being here and learning with me. And have a great rest of your week.
Take care, guys.
See you later, everybody.